Andre, maybe you can change your presentation to full screen. Now it's on slide form.
I did it.
No,
I see
we see we don't see the full screen.
I don't know why. Oh. Okay,
because
just
on the left side we see the other slides.
okay. Let me try again.
Hmm.
Something. What do you see now?
Now it's okay.
And it goes.
Now it's on full screen.
And do you see changing the?
Yes.
Okay. Hussein, if there will be anything else that I have to change, just tell me.
Yes, sure. No.
Yeah.
Evet, saat. Merhaba Fatih. 3 oldu. Lütfen. Hı-hı. Hı-hı. Değerli katılımcılarımız, değerli dostlarımız, hepinize merhaba. Bugünkü seminerimize hoş geldiniz. Ege Hazır Giyim ve Konfeksiyon İhracatçıları Birliği olarak geçen yıldan beri ayda bir kez düzenlemeye çalıştığımız seminerlerimize yaz ayları dolayısıyla biraz ara vermiştik ve bugün itibariyle tekrar başlıyoruz. Ümit ediyorum ki bundan sonra yaklaşık ayda bir sizlerle birlikte olacağız. Bugünkü değerli konuşmacımız, seminer katılımcımız Profesör Doktor Andrei Demşar. Kendisi Slovenya'da Ljubljana Üniversitesi Tekstil Mühendisliği bölümünde öğretim üyesi ve şu anda bir takım idari görevleri de var. Kendisi bize holistik düşünme ve davranma konulu bir sunum yapacak. Buna benzer bir sunumunu Andre Hoca'nın daha önce bir uluslararası kongrede de dinlemiştim. Oldukça başarılı, çok güzel bir konuşmaydı. Konu itibariyle de, sunum itibariyle de. Dolayısıyla yönetim kurulumuzun da onayını alarak kendisini bu toplantı için davet ettik. Eksik olmasın, çok yoğun bir hazırlıktan sonra bugün kendisi karşımıza çıktı. Ben müsaade ederseniz önce bir Andre Hoca'nın özgeçmişini kısaca size okumak istiyorum. Andre Demşar kimdir? Ona bir bakalım. Profesör Doktor Andre Demşar lisans, yüksek lisans ve doktora eğitimlerini Slovenya'da Ljubljana Üniversitesi Doğal Bilimler ve Mühendislik Fakültesi Tekstil Mühendisliği bölümünde tamamlamıştır. Kendisi şu anda Ljubljana Üniversitesi Doğal Bilimler ve Mühendislik Fakültesi Tekstil, Grafik Sanatlar ve Tasarım bölümünde tam zamanlı profesör öğretim üyesi olarak görev yapmaktadır. Türkiye'de Ege Üniversitesi, Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'nde Georgia Institute of Technology, Japonya'da Shinsu Üniversitesi gibi kurumlarda da misafir profesör olarak görev yapmıştır. Şu anda kendi fakültesinde dekan yardımcılığı görevini de yürütmektedir. Daha önceki yıllarda da farklı sürelerde öğretim üyesi bulunduğu kendi bölümünde bölüm başkanlığı, Slovenya Tekstil Birliği'nin başkanlığı, bölüm başkan yardımcılığı ve Ljubljana Tekstil Mühendisleri ve Teknikerleri Birliği'nin başkanlığını da yapmıştır. Uzmanlık alanları tekstil ham maddeleri, tekstil testleri, üretim yönetimi ve kalite yönetimidir. Yapay liflerin üretimleri, süper moleküler yapılar, kauçuk kompozitler, tarihsel tekstil, eğitim, kalite yönetimi, üretim yönetimi, yeni ürünlerin tasarımında holistik yaklaşımlar konularında da araştırmalar ve çalışmalar yapmıştır. Uluslararası bilimsel dergilerde çok sayıda bilimsel yayınları bulunmaktadır. Ayrıca ulusal ve uluslararası kongrelerde yapmış olduğu ve bildiri kitaplarında yayınlanmış çok sayıda sunumu da bulunmaktadır. 6 adet uluslararası bilimsel derginin şu anda değerlendirme hakemliğini yapmaktadır. Evet, ben şimdi sözü Profesör Andre Demşar'a bırakmak istiyorum ve kendisini zevkle dinleyeceğimizi tahmin ediyorum. Buyurun Profesör Demşar.
Thank you, dear Professor Kadoglu, for your kind introduction. So I'm happy that it's my pleasure to present this topic to your colleagues. And before I start with the presentation, I would just like to say a few words about Slovenia. Slovenia, where I come from. Slovenia lies in the central part of Europe, and we have following neighboring countries like Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia. And it is a small country. For example, if you go from seaside of Adriatic coast towards the northeast of Slovenia, towards Hungary border, for example, you need 3 hours by a car. So it's a small country. But with the diversity of Slovenia nature, where we have this Mediterranean climate here at southwest, and on north Alpine region, and here on southeast continental weather, it's so diverse and so beautiful. So I also use this opportunity to invite you to visit Slovenia. And in Slovenia, we have about 2 million people. The capital of Slovenia is Ljubljana. We have our language, it's Slovenian language, which is a part which comes from the Slavic group of languages. We are independent country since 1991. Before we were a part of Yugoslavia. We are a part of European Union since 2004, and we use euros. Just shortly about Slovenia. In Slovenia, we have 4 public universities in Ljubljana, Maribor, Koper, and Nova Gorica. And University of Ljubljana is the oldest, the biggest, and according to scientific criteria, also the best university in Slovenia. So University of Ljubljana is ranked among top 500 universities on the academic ranking of world universities. It was established in 1919, so we have now already 105 years of our history. And we cover at University of Ljubljana diverse range of disciplines, including natural and technical sciences, as well as arts and humanities. So we have 23 faculties and 3 academies. All together, there are around 6,800 people employed at our university. We have 37,400 students, roughly, and about 10% of this number of students are foreign students. It's also interesting to mention that the university study in Slovenia is free of tuition. So our students don't pay for their studies at university. Among these 23 faculties, there is also Faculty of Natural Sciences and Engineering. This is the faculty where I come from, and we have 4 departments, and one of the departments is Department of Textiles, Graphic Arts, and Design. This department was established in 1956, and in 1979, we started with fashion design, and in 1996, we started also with graphic and media technology studies. This is our building. At our department, we have 72 employees and somehow 800 students, of which about 100 students on textile studies, 550 students on graphic and media studies, on textile design 147, and we have 22 PhD students. So I come from Faculty of Natural Sciences and Engineering, where I'm full professor, and I started as a textile engineer, textile student also here, and my basic field of work at the beginning were textile raw materials and textile testing. Later, I started to work also in the field of production management and quality management. And I must say that at this point, somehow my view on what is happening around me started to broaden. And I started to realize that I do not have answers to all questions. So sometimes I realize that there are so many questions to be answered, but it's difficult to answer them just with the help of technology. So as I started to think about it, I came to conclusion that perhaps in the future, we need holistic thinking and acting. And this is also the topic of my presentation. And I would like to somehow show you how I see this way of thinking and why I think that it is a must for tomorrow. So what is the purpose of my presentation? So I would like to present to you my view on some aspects of today's world. I want to present to you my view on causes of the problems of today's world. And also I would like to share with you some possible solutions for these problems. And what I would like at the end of this presentation, what outcome of the presentation would be, what would be the most important for me, that you would not forget about the presentation immediately after the end of the presentation. that the presentation would leave a seed in you, and that this seed will slowly grow in the future. That you would discuss the presented views with the colleagues in the company, with the family, with your friends, with the colleagues from other companies, so that you would talk about it. And that you would think of new solutions for the tomorrow. And that you would actively build a new tomorrow. So that you would know that everything matters. Also, very, very small steps towards better future matter. And I would like that this thought of Albert Einstein would somehow inspire us in searching of new solutions. So we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So we have to change something. And my suggestions, my proposals for a change are my view. So you have to just talk about it. Perhaps you will find your own solutions. It is important that you think about something new, so how to solve those problems. For example, if I ask you, or if I ask myself, could the technology solve the problems of today's world? So why I ask myself this question? Because the development of technology is unbelievable. It is, I can say, every year faster. So we have to deal with this somehow. I would like to share with you just a few examples so that you would understand how I see. So where I started to think that we have to change something. For example, internet. It's something that it's here, and it's something that we cannot live without anymore. So we started to use internet globally in 90s, and we are connected much more than we were connected ever before. But at the same time, we feel more alone. For example, emails. I sent my first email, let's say in 1992. It was a breakthrough. It was something amazing. It was thrilling for me. And at that time, I could not imagine that I will be answering emails half of my working day, which I don't find something that we fought for, so that we wanted. I thought I will have more time, but in fact, I have less time. The speed of life is much higher than it used to be, and it will be even higher in the future. So I ask myself, do I want that? And it would be interesting to talk with you to see what do you think about it. Another example, if we talk about climate crisis, for example, everybody would say the problem is CO2. And it's interesting how we technicians are trying, so that we try to solve this problem with technology. We will capture CO2 and we will store it. So I don't find this as a good idea, me personally. So this is one thing. So we cannot use technology for everything. We should search for solution also from other disciplines. And for example, also I doubt that CO2 is the only cause of the problem which we have. There are more problems which we have to solve. And for example, another example, electrical vehicles, electrical cars. So we introduce electrical cars without having full answers on the questions regarding the drawbacks. I don't find this a good start for something so new, to completely replace. So of course, this is my view, to completely replace other ways of transport. So do we have solution regarding finding enough sources for the batteries of electric cars? Do we talk about it? So what will be with e-cars after use? Again, the technology is developing, but we still don't have answers. We don't ask ourselves what will happen. And another example, artificial intelligence. It's here, it is now. It's here. And we cannot change it. It will be here for all our life. So we cannot change this. This is a fact. The only thing that we should do is that we think also about the consequences of the artificial intelligence, so that we are prepared on positive things of artificial intelligence and on the drawbacks of artificial intelligence. We have to be prepared on that. And last example, it's example from textiles. For example, we are able to produce better and better material almost every year, for which we use yarn mixtures. We mix different fibers together, we create different yarns and so on and so on. So, and we get better properties and so on. But with this, we don't know, so we still don't know how to recycle textiles. Only 5% of textiles is recycled. I find this a big problem. So why we develop things for which we know that we will not have a problem, solution? Okay, so these are some questions that are all the time here, but we don't talk about them. We just go on without asking ourselves important questions. And I would like to share thought of one very well-known Nobel Prize winner, Sir Paul Nurse. So if you are, just a second, if you are surrounded by stimuli all the time, then you don't have time to develop curiosity. In a way, this shows the direction in which science is going. It is about accumulating more and more data because technology allows it, rather than focusing on thinking about what this data means. And to rephrase this, I would like just to put technology inside. If the development is so fast, then you don't have time to think. You don't have time to develop curiosity. In a way, this shows the direction in which technology is going. It is about developing technology because technology allows it, rather than focusing on thinking about what this development means. So more and more discoveries will be made with technological progress. And we have to discuss it. We have to discuss what something new, some new invention will mean for the society in the future. So is this a problem that technology is developing so fast that we do not have time to predict and check the consequences? I know you are coming from industry. You cannot just step out of this train of limitless development. You have to be a part of it. Today, it's impossible not to do like that. But you can start to think about small step somewhere in a different direction. So let us think about possible solution. Just for the beginning, to remind us what's the sustainability is. You know very well what sustainability is. I'm sure about it. But I'm also sure that majority of you know mostly two pillars of sustainability. You work mostly in economic and environmental pillar of sustainability. And I think so, I may be wrong, that you don't think about this social part of sustainability. And for me, just a second, I don't know. Here it is. For me, sustainability is only this. We act sustainably only if we think of all three pillars of sustainability. So this is how I see sustainability. It is important that we have in mind all these three pillars of sustainability. Okay, now let's think about solution. If I would ask you to draw a curve of technology development versus time, you all would draw a curve which would be something like this. And this is also proven by scientific evidences and so on. So we all know that. And this technology curve somehow addresses two pillars of sustainability, economics and environmental pillar. We still have this social pillar of sustainability. And if I would ask you that you draw a curve of social competencies versus time, just let's say in a few seconds, try to imagine what kind of curve would you draw? I, for example, draw such a curve. This curve has no scientific background. It is drawn just for the sake of discussion. And if we put together those two curves, we see this empty space here. And if you ask me, I strongly believe that this is the source of the problems of some of the problems of today's world. We should balance those two developments. We should balance them. So technology development with social competencies development. We should balance this. And if we balance this, very likely we would move towards real sustainability, where we would have in mind all three pillars of sustainability. So we talk about balance. We need a balance regarding the development. Whatever we develop, it should be balanced. So what we do, it should be balanced with what already exists. The driving force of unbalanced, polarized world is unbalanced development of technology and social competences. So this is my hypothesis. The gap between technology and social competencies in development should be filled with social competencies, awareness, wisdom, so that we get a balanced development of sustainability, let's say. So the problem of climate crisis and sustainability crisis is in fact in unbalance of the sustainability pillars or sustainability curves. We need a balance, and we must put our effort in balancing the sustainability pillars. So when we develop something, we should work so that we see all three pillars. So how our product or whatever we are inventing is affecting all three pillars of sustainability. And if we look at the European reference framework, where key competencies for lifelong learning were somehow presented in 2018. So they listed following competencies: literacy, multilingualism, cultural awareness, personal competencies, social competencies, mathematical, scientific, technological, engineering, and digital competencies. So if we think about those competencies which we have to develop in the future, we can see that some of those competencies, we can see those competencies in social pillar and some competencies in technology pillar and so on. So again, when we think about the future, we have to develop all competencies that sustainability somehow addresses. We come from, let's say, technology or engineering part of the world. And we have to be aware of that. We have to think about that. So if you have a balanced system, like, for example, your company. So if we have a balanced company, very likely this company and all the parts of the company are working and contributing to the benefit of all parts and the system and the company itself. So if we want that the company is healthy, also all parts of the company have to be healthy. And very likely, if the company is in balance, the company will be also healthy. Okay, let's think about the following. How do we solve problems today? Usually, we split them into smaller parts, and we slowly solve each part of the problem, or so we get to the problem and solve the problem. And it's almost the same. How do we do so? How do we do the research? We go deep into the discipline and we get depth. But with getting depth, we miss the width. So we unfortunately, or very likely, we cannot have everything. So we need somehow in our team people who have very deep knowledge, but we need also people who see the big picture. And today, we quite often hear that the way we think today is like reductionism or linear thinking. So this is how we solve problems in today's Western world. And reductionism and linear thinking explain phenomena using the methods and laws of one science or discipline. We usually use as less unknowns as possible, so that we try to make a system as simple as possible. Then it's easier for us to understand. And we educate students so many different disciplines, but we don't teach them connections between them. And this is what I see the faculty or the educational system should do in the future. We should show the pupils the big picture. And according to linear thinking, the systems are a sum of their individual parts. So 1 + 1 is 2. So where could be a problem? So that we do not see the whole picture. We do not see connections. So we do not see the real source of the problems. And also, we do not see the outcome of our actions. So we cannot predict what will be tomorrow, because we cannot imagine how the surroundings will change. So my solution, or my proposal for the solution, is that we step forward with holistic thinking and acting. I'm very convinced that this is what the future needs. People who could see a broader picture, who could see also the connections between parts of the system. And what is holism? Is a theory, is a concept which defines system as a sum of individual parts which altogether present a whole. These parts are in intimate interconnection such that they cannot exist independently of the whole, or cannot be understood without reference to the whole. It's one of the definitions of holism. So all around us, there are systems. It's your family, your company, your town, your country, Europe, the whole world, Earth, our solar system, universe. So all these are systems with subsystems. And everything is connected. Each part of the system is somehow connected to every other part of the system. So we should think also about connections. So it's this, that in holism, the systems are more than just a sum of their individual parts. So 1 + 1 is more than 2. For example, if I dig a hole alone for 2 hours, and the hole is 1 meter deep, so it took me 2 working hours to do that. And for example, if I dig a hole with a friend for 1 hour, what do you think how deep this hole is? We have still 2 working hours. I believe that this hole is deeper, that this connection between 2 workers gives opportunity that we do much more than if we do it alone. So according to this holistic theory, the systems are more than just a sum of their individual parts. At this point, I would like to just shortly introduce to you this butterfly effect. I'm sure you already heard of it. It's simply meant to demonstrate that little insignificant event can lead to significant results over time. So in this butterfly effect was introduced in the frame of chaos theory. And it means that the butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one state of deterministic nonlinear system can result in large differences in a later state. And why butterfly effect? Here on the right, you can, so it was presented like that the flapping of a butterfly's wings can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world. So something insignificant here can cause a big change somewhere else. And now, just think about that. So whatever you do, even if you think that this what you do is an invisible change, so invisible change, everything has at certain point a consequence. So everything we do has a consequence somewhere. So we should not say that we cannot change the world. Very often students ask me, so I can't do anything, so I'm nothing and so on. But I'm convinced that whatever we do towards a better world counts. So be courageous. So in holistic or sustainability paradigm, we find all possible individual parts as parts of a whole, which, when they are in balance, all act for the benefit of every individual part, as well as for the benefit of the whole. For me, in fact, sustainability is a holistic approach. When we talk about sustainability, we talk holistically. And I think that today we have a problem acting or thinking holistically or sustainably because we are learned and taught to act reductionalistically instead of holistically. So no one taught us to think holistically. At last ITMA fair, wherever I went to any stand, there was a photo connected with sustainability, how they work sustainably. But I cannot remember the stand where they would also include social part of the or social sustainability pillar. And there is another thing which I would like to introduce to you. So when we talk about sustainability, in 1987, there was a definition of sustainability presented by United Nations. So it's meeting the needs of the present generations without compromising the ability of future generations. So it's not just that we have 3 pillars of sustainability. We have, in fact, 4 pillars because also the time, we should think also of time component. What I think by that. So we have another pillar, it's a time component. And we should take into the whatever we do, we should take into the consideration also the time. For example, imagine that you are preparing something new, a new product, a new solution for a problem, whatever. And when we do that, we see the situation like it is right now. And we think that this situation will not change. So when we will come with the solution, we think that we will put solution into the same surroundings, to the same conditions. But this is impossible. It's like a river. We cannot step into the river, into the same water in the river twice. So you can imagine that when we think about a new product, a new solution of the problem. We have to think that we will implement this in the future when there will be some other situations. And we should also think that this, our solution, this, our product will change all the conditions. So everything is connected and it is difficult to see all the possible connections. But we have to try to think about it. So thinking holistically means thinking sustainably. Thinking holistically means that we see more individual parts and their interconnections. We understand more, and consequently, we take better solutions and actions. Solution of our challenges is a balance of all individual parts. Healthy environment, healthy people, healthy society, and balanced growth. And for me, the solution is balance between reductionism and holism. So there should be a balance between them. And we need in-depth knowledge, and a wide understanding. When you will form a team, I believe that in the team you need people from different disciplines, people with deep knowledge, and people who see a wider picture. So this is how you should think of creating a team in the future. Holistic thinking and acting gives us opportunity to see what is really important and that we solve the right challenges. And now I see that we are now towards 40 minutes of my presentation. Professor Kadoglu, I still have some parts. If I can continue, I can continue. What do you think are?
Bence devam edebiliriz.
Okay. So let us think about our sustainability crisis or environmental crisis. What are the reasons? To me, the reasons are following. World economic system, capitalism or neoliberalism, which sets wrong set of values and puts profit and constant growth on the agenda. Only this matters. We have overproduction and consumerism. So, of course, we could discuss this and give also other reasons, but for me, these are three the most important reasons for the crisis in which we are now. And now, again, we need a change. We need to change this. And again, just to remind you, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So we have to change them. And now I would I will just go here, yeah. So my vision is that we have a balanced world, balanced development, and balanced growth. So we have to change our attitude towards nature, towards society, and towards ourselves. And one of the most important and strongest tools is education. And another thing, here it's written degrowth. I don't know the Turkish word for this. I hope the translators found it. But it's a kind of invitation that you also seek for this view or this philosophy for the future. So degrowth emphasizes the need to reduce global consumption and production and advocates a socially just and ecologically sustainable society with social and environmental well-being, replacing of GDP and GDP growth as the indicator of prosperity. So what are possible solutions? How can we do that? Who has the power to change something? I will just go a little bit more quickly to a part here where there are possible solutions which we can think about in the future. For example, what if we promote lower consumption, local production, homogeneous textile products production, so that we use no fiber mixtures, products with longer life, fair trade, no child work, 40 hours or less working week, etc., etc. So we go out without thinking, we go out of the box. We try to go out of the train that it is now, that we are now on. And I would like to share my thinking regarding the stakeholders who have the power to make a change. I believe that there are group of stakeholders who have the power to make a change. We as individuals, so consumers, economy, so industry, so it's where you come from, politics, and educators. Slowly, shortly about 4 of them. So we as consumers have a great power, but I don't see consumers that they should solve the problem. I don't see them as the ones. So, but they have a power because the economy depends on consumers' consumption. With buying sustainable goods, we as consumers have the influence on sustainable production. But the power of consumers is weakened by marketing propaganda of producers of goods and by weak sustainable legislation. So we are not aware as consumers yet. So we have to educate consumers so that they would have knowledge and empathy, and that they would become aware and responsible consumers. At that point, I'm sure that they would have a great influence on the economy. Economy. So you come from the economy. Also, the economy has a great power. For example, you can start to produce sustainable things tomorrow. But of course, this is impossible because it's very likely that your sustainable products would be expensive than the others and people wouldn't buy them and so on. So it's not you, again, who I see that should make a big change. Of course, you will adapt, but today you have to survive. So the economy depends on demand and consumption and on legislation. And currently, the economy is still forced to produce cheap, non-sustainable products since consumers are mostly buying cheap products and legislators are not changing legislation in the favor of sustainability. But there is a very nice example of Patagonia because they try to go in this direction to change something. And their mission is, we are in business to save our home planet. And there are some core values of which perhaps I'll just go shortly through them. So build the best product. Among the most direct ways we can limit ecological impacts is with goods that last for generations or can be recycled so the materials in them remain in use. Cause no unnecessary harm. We work steadily to change our business practices and share what we've learned. We seek not only to do less harm, but to do more good. Use business to protect nature. We embrace risk and act to protect and restore the stability, integrity, and beauty of the web of life. Not bound by convention, our success and much of the fun lies in the development of new ways to do things. And politicians, for me, they bear the biggest responsibility to the situation in which we are. Unfortunately, they are not able to do changes because they are just a tool in the hands of financial lobbies. And I don't want to talk too much about it, but for me, they are responsible for the situation in which we are. And we need wise and responsible leaders, politicians and legislators. And finally, the educators. I am convinced that education is the strongest tool to make a long-term and long-lasting change. And I'm convinced that modern education will enable us to switch from one discipline view to transdisciplinary view, switch from narrow to holistic view, and develop a new value system. Albert Einstein said, the aim of education must be the training of independently acting and thinking individuals who, however, see in the service to the community their highest life goal. So who has the power to make a change? We all have the power. And I wish that we would be able to think about today with knowledge and awareness of yesterday and tomorrow. And I wish that we would be able to think of new models, strategies, approaches, and solutions for tomorrow in which the systems would be in balance. And this is a photo of first generation of students of the course Holistic Thinking and Acting, which we started last year in Ljubljana. So I see this as my contribution to a change, about which I'm talking about. And with this, I invite you to try to do a change also in your field of work, at home, with your friends, wherever you are. There is possibility to do a change. And for a change, you have to have courage. And I wish you a lot of courage in changing things. Thank you for listening. And as I said at the beginning, I hope that you will take the idea with you to your tomorrow. So with this, Professor Kadoglu, I finish today's presentation. And if there are any questions, I will gladly answer them.
Evet, Profesör Andrei Demşar'a bu çok mükemmel, güzel sunumu için teşekkür ediyoruz. Gerçekten sürdürülebilirlik, bütünsel düşünce gibi konularda bizlere farklı bir bakış açısı getiriyor. Çok ilginç konular. Gerçekten teşekkür ediyoruz kendisine. Bunları bize aktardığı için. Şimdi ben sorular kısmına geçeceğim. Ama ona geçmeden önce bir şey ilave etmek istiyorum. Şimdi Ljubljana Üniversitesi ile Türk üniversitelerinin işte tekstil mühendisliği bölümlerinin arasındaki ilişkiler son 20 yılda gerçekten çok ileri boyutlara taşındı. Çok mükemmel ilişkilerimiz oldu. Hem eğitim, öğretim elemanı değişimi, artı projeler bazında buradaki meslektaşlarımızla güzel çalışmalar yapıyoruz. Bu da tabii bizim açımızdan oldukça sevindirici uluslararası ilişkiler bakımından. Bu noktada bu ilişkilerin başlatılmasında ve geliştirilmesinde büyük emeği olan Ljubljana Üniversitesi öğretim üyesi, çok değerli bilim insanı ve şu anda emekli olmuş olan Profesör Doktor Kirste Dimitrovski'ye de bu vesileyle selam ve saygılarımızı iletmek istiyorum. Evet, şimdi sorular kısmına geçebiliriz. Kendi ekranlarınızdan yazılı olarak sorularınızı bize iletirseniz, biz de tercümanımız vasıtasıyla Andre hocamıza bunları ileteceğiz ve kendisinin de en iyi cevapları bize vereceğine eminim. Evet, buyurun sorularınızı bekliyoruz. Evet, şu anda görünen bir soru yok ama belki gelecektir. Belki sorular gelene kadar ben moderatör olarak bir soruyla başlayabilirim. Bir konuda Andre hocamızın görüşlerini almak isterim. Bu konuda Hurşide Hanım yardımcı olursa tercümede. Şimdi Andre hocamız bütünsel düşünce ve bunun yanı sıra önemli konu olan sürdürülebilirlik başta olmak üzere bir takım vurgularda bulundu. Ben şunu merak ediyorum, kendisinin düşüncelerini. Acaba tekstil üretiminin, tekstil sektörünün bugüne kadar sürdürülebilirlik konusundaki başarısını diğer sektörlere göre nasıl görüyor? Bu konuda bir karşılaştırma yapabilir mi? Şu andaki durum nedir? Ya da geleceğe yönelik olarak bu nasıl bir değişim gösterebilir? Ee, Benim kısa sorum bu şekilde olacak.
Thank you for the question. I see the biggest problem regarding sustainability in textile sector in this, that it is not possible easily to recycle textile materials. For me, this is the biggest problem. There are also some other things which come to my mind. For example, right now, the German automotive industry is having problems. It was the same with textile industry in Europe, or in, let's say, in Slovenia. I come from Slovenia, at the late 80s or beginning of 90s. At that time, nobody talked about textile industry, but it was just given somehow to the East. So nobody talked about what we have or what we had here. The problem in Slovenia now is the bad reputation of the word textiles. The young people doesn't want to study textiles. So there is a lack of professionals in this field in Slovenia, but also in Europe or in Western world. Although when I come to big shopping centers, half of the shops are the shops of textile materials or clothes and so on. So there are some discrepancies about which we have to talk in Europe on the high political level. And I believe, I hope it's not only a belief, but I don't see other possibility that the production of textiles comes back to Europe. But when I talk about Europe, I mean also the whole region with Turkey. So Europe, Turkey, and so on. I see the whole region because we have to think about that we are self-sufficient about producing textiles. So these are some past thoughts on your questions. On your question.
Teşekkür ederim. Evet, sanırım iki tane sorumuz var hali hazırda. Bunlardan bir tanesi, Hurşide Hanım, siz de görüyorsanız soruları direkt olarak sorabilir misiniz hocamıza sırayla? Göremiyorum. Peki ben o zaman sesli olarak şey yapacağım. Birinci soru şu, pazarlama ve reklamın yarattığı tüketme teşviğinin önüne nasıl geçilebilir?
Very difficult. So uh, I think I understood the question. So you see the problem of consumption in this marketing and so on. Yes, the whole system at the moment is such that we, as a consumers, we have to consume everything as much as it is possible and so on. So this is the situation right now. That I would have right now the right answer to this problem. So I would say that we have to start with small steps. I like evolutionism, not revolutionary changes and so on. And we need to start with education and legislation and politics. So for me, the politicians are responsible for the legislation that we have. So we can change things very quickly with different kind of legislation. And then it's possible to do a lot of things. So for me, education and legislation.
Evet, yanıtınız için teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi diğer soruya geçiyorum. Diğer sorumuz şöyle, Slovenya'nın dünya tekstil üretimindeki yeri nedir? Şu anda ihraç edilmekte olan herhangi bir tekstil ürünü bulunmakta mıdır Slovenya'da?
Yeah. Thank you for your question. Just shortly regarding history, in 80s in Slovenia, we have, so you heard, we have 2 million people. In the 80s of former century, there was about 80,000 people employed in textile business. Now there are about 5 or 6,000. So a lot of textile industry has been closed down. Now we have some companies which are very good on world level, and almost everything is exported. Almost everything is exported. They cannot depend on home consumption because it's too small market. So we have, but the companies that are still working there on the really European or world level, this is why they are still operating and so on. Shortly. If you have another question regarding the topic, just ask.
Evet, bir sorumuz daha var. Evet, iki soru oldu. Tam göremiyorum ama. Evet, burada sorular bazen İngilizce olarak geliyor. Hurşide Hanım, ben doğrudan İngilizce olarak okuyayım mı soruyu? Tamam. Evet, soru şöyle. I would like to ask about Professor Andrei perspective on the potential popularity of local textile products.
It's just that I don't hear.
Tamam, siz okuyun. Tamam.
Thank you for the question. So I don't have insight in what it is happening on this political level or level of legislation. But if there will be such a solution accepted, then we have to do changes on all different levels, from education on. So I can't tell you exactly what is happening and what will happen, but I'm just telling you what it should be done. The industry and the production should move back to, let's say, Europe. And with this, as I said, I meant also Turkey. And the environment should be prepared in which this will be possible. And we should encourage young people to study textiles and so on. At the moment, you are completely right. We don't have people who would work in these new factories that would be built and so on. We do not have people. This is a problem. And now you can see, nobody thought about these consequences 30, 40 years ago, when in Europe we said, okay, this will be produced in East. We don't need this anymore. Now we have a situation when we are not able to produce enough textile goods if there would be, if this would be needed. For example, when Corona crisis started, in Europe, we were not able to produce face masks, enough face masks. It's crazy, but this is what it happened. So if you ask me, not just in the textile field, but in all industrial and agricultural fields, Europe has to be at least 80% self-sufficient. And if you ask me again, I think that politicians still don't realize this problem. It's my opinion. But of course, perhaps you can share your thoughts also.
Evet, herhalde sorunun yanıtı bitti. Evet, sorularımız devam ediyor. Bir diğer sorumuz şöyle. Hocam, size ve misafir hocamıza selamlar. Canlı etkinlik için emeği geçen herkese teşekkürler. Günümüzde yeşil dönüşümün holistik düşünce kavramı bakış açısına göre en önemli hususları nelerdir? Sorumuz bu.
I think I understood. So firstly, it's interesting to me that in EU now this green transformation is not so in favor as it was 5 years ago. I don't know whether you follow what it is going on in European Parliament, but at the moment, we are very likely in completely different situation. If we were 5 years ago in favor of So we talked about EU Green Deal, circular economy, and so on. Right now, these are not favorable topics. And these are not favorable topics because we don't think holistically. If we would think holistically, we would know that we shouldn't stop with those changes and so on. So this is what I already mentioned. The majority of decisions are in hands of political leaders, and they are still not able to think holistically and to really take decisions which would be for the benefit of all. It's my opinion.
Evet, teşekkürler. Bir sonraki soruya geçiyorum. Sorumuz şöyle. Petrol bazlı liflerden vazgeçmek mümkün mü? Elektrikli arabalarda olduğu gibi tekstilde de bu konuda yakın zamanda büyük bir atılım bekliyor mu?
Well, I didn't understand it completely, but I think that it was the question regarding, yeah. Yes, please. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So regarding petrol-based fibers, again, it's my opinion that we should not abandon them. The problem to me is more that we should be able to recycle them so that there are less fiber mixtures. If there are fiber mixtures, then this is the problem. In fact, for me, this is the problem. But I would not abandon petrol-based fibers. This is what I wouldn't do. And what was the second part of the question? Yeah. I don't think, I don't see such a development, such really different approach and so on. At the moment, I don't see it. More what I see is that we think how to get this industry back, to produce things here ecologically, on a very high ecological standards. And so this is, I think it's the most important, that we try to bring back this textile industry, and also to think about how to lower the consumption of textile materials. This is, I think it's not sustainable, such a consumption of textile materials, and that we see them as something that we can just throw away because it has no value. So it's shortly.
Evet, teşekkürler. Sanırım başka sorumuz yok şu anda. Dolayısıyla toplantımızın da sonuna gelmiş oluyoruz. Bu noktada ben tekrar Profesör Andrei Demşar'a bu değerli katılımı, konuşması ve verdiği bilgiler için çok teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii siz katılımcılarımıza da çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Özellikle sorularıyla katkı veren arkadaşlarımız da burada bize önemli katkılar verdiler. Sorularıyla konuyu biraz daha açmış olduk. Ve bir sonraki toplantıda tekrar buluşmayı diliyoruz. Bu arada programımıza göre bir sonraki toplantımız, eğer bir aksilik olmazsa, 17 Ekim tarihinde olacak. Şimdiden notlarınızı alabilirsiniz. Burada konu ve konuşmacı ile bilgiler birliğimizin sekreteryası tarafından sizlere duyurulacak en kısa sürede. Evet, hepinize katılımınız için tekrar teşekkürler ve iyi günler, sağlıklı günler diliyorum. Hoşçakalın.
Also, I would like to thank all that who came to listen to this presentation, and also Professor Katoglu, thank you for inviting me to give this topic to your colleagues.